The Samsung Galaxy S20 FE has to be one of my favorite smartphones to come out this year. And there's probably going to be a lot of you going into the comment section right now because I opened this video with that statement. What's up everybody, Tito James here. I hope you guys are having a fantastic holiday. Now, of course, we're going to be talking about the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE 5G. And before you go flame me in the comment section, let me quantify or qualify that previous statement. This is my favorite phone from Samsung this year, and I've been using it on and off for about 2 months now, meaning after I review other devices, this is the smartphone that I choose to come back to for my everyday use. It isn't perfect, and I have to be upfront with you guys about that, which is why I decided to do a pros and cons video to kind of unpack my experience with this device so far. Now let's start with the positives. Number one being that it has all the features that we pretty much expect from Samsung flagships. So you're getting the current flagship SoC available right now, and this 5G version is packing the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865, and as we all know, aside from the Plus version of this SoC, this is pretty much as good as it gets. For the apps that I use on a daily basis, it gets a job done and it does it really, really well. Now, I tend to jump from app to app when I'm working, so if you find yourself multitasking a lot on your current device, you'll be pleased to know that this phone can definitely keep up. Now, I don't do a lot of gaming on my smartphones, but when the mood strikes, I did find that the S20 FE could handle the titles that I usually play without any issue at the highest graphical settings. But let's be honest here, if you're looking for a smartphone primarily for gaming, I don't think that the S20 FE is going to be on top of your list. One thing that Samsung started offering for their flagships this year are its display with higher refresh rates, and that's still present on the S20 FE. You're getting a 6.5-inch Full HD Plus Super AMOLED display at 120Hz, so the phone feels snappier when navigating through it. Obviously, that comes at the expense of battery life, which we will talk about a bit later. Again, as you guys know, I'm super biased when it comes to Samsung's displays, but this one doesn't disappoint in terms of picture quality. You have those inky blacks that I absolutely love and bright, vivid colors for checking out your Instagram feeds or watching videos. You aren't getting QHD Plus resolution here, so it might not hit that flagship mark that we typically see on their quote-unquote ultra smartphones, but it's definitely a good compromise and the pixel density still makes it quite sharp. In terms of battery life, the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE has a 4,500 mAh battery, and that typically lasted me at least a full day with pretty heavy usage with a screen at 120Hz. Now that being said, we are working from home and trying to stay in as much as we can, so if you're a particularly heavy user, you might want to bring a power bank just in case you need a midday top-up. Speaking of which, the S20 FE supports their usual 25-watt fast charging, which had me top up the phone at about an hour and 20 minutes. Now, you can charge this wirelessly, but it's at 15 watts, and I don't know about you guys, but I do prefer plugging it into the wall socket, but at least you have that option. Now, I think this is a good time to kind of transition into the first con, because for all the features that this phone is packing, this version of the S20 FE, the 5G variant, is not the one that we're getting here in the Philippines. Like I said, the 5G variant sports the Snapdragon 865, but we're getting the 4G version of this phone, which will run on the current Exynos flagship chipset, so you'll be seeing a fair dip in performance, which is understandably frustrating, and some of you have already voiced this out in our previous video for the S20 FE. It's definitely a tough pill to swallow, but I've found that the Exynos 990 had more than enough power for my usage, but I'm still kind of hoping that Samsung will ship with Qualcomm processors in the future, though there are reports that their next chips will bridge that performance gap. With that said, now let's talk about point number 2 in the pros column, the cameras. Now, they don't have crazy megapixel counts like the S20 Ultra or Note 20 Ultra, and to be completely frank, I don't think we need to see those crazy numbers anyway. As a recap, the S20 FE features a 12 megapixel main camera with dual pixel phase detection autofocus and OIS at an aperture of f1.8. You also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera at f2.2 with a 123-degree field of view, and an 8 megapixel telephoto camera with up to 3 times optical zoom and OIS to help you with your shaky hands if you're zoomed in. Let's be honest, you're not getting the absolute best image quality here when you compare it to, let's say, an iPhone 12, but it's good and good enough for what we typically use the photos on our phones for, which is posting on social media. There's a good amount of detail in the shots I've taken. Colors are a bit amped up, but the post-processing isn't too bad. And if you want to go a bit more realistic, you can always turn off Scene Optimizer in the settings. The dynamic range is passable with the main camera, though you will notice a dip with the ultra-wide with the shadows getting a bit more crushed, but it's not too bad. Night mode still needs a bit of work, but it's not too bad in a pinch, but Samsung definitely has a lot of catching up to do if they want to get on the level of Huawei's prowess in this regard. All in all, for the price we're expected to pay for the S20 FE, the photos are pretty great. Now, I'm not big on selfies, but I think the 32 megapixel front shooter does a great job as well. I just realized that I wasn't able to try out the selfie cameras in low light situations, but judging from the indoor shots Leia and I have taken, you will need to stick to areas with pretty good lighting to get really crispy looking self-portraits. Hey guys, so yes, the lighting changed because as I was editing this video, there was something wrong with the audio, so I decided to re-record it. But anyway, the last pro on this list has to do with the price of the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE, which is admittedly a bit controversial, but hear me out. When I say price, this is of course relative to other phones that Samsung is offering, because I'm pretty sure someone's gonna bring out the Xiaomi Mi 10T in the comment section. But if you're a Samsung guy or girl and you're not willing to spend loads on their Ultra series phones, the S20 FE sits at a pretty good price point, which is 35,990 pesos according to their website. Now, of course, I would suggest getting the S20 FE via your local telco of choice, which I typically suggest with flagship devices. But if you want to pay for this phone outright, the pricing isn't too bad. Again, that's relatively speaking. Of course, that Pro is also a bit of a double-edged sword and is actually also one of the factors in the last con in my list, which is the seriously tough competition in the market right now. Now, I've already mentioned the Xiaomi Mi 10T or Mi 10T Pro, which is honestly one of the best bang for your buck phones in this price segment. I won't even deny that. With that device, you're pretty much getting everything the S20 FE 5G has, except for an AMOLED display on the Pro, but that may not be the main priority for a lot of you. Of course, you also have the OnePlus 8T, which is another great alternative that has a similar feature set to this device and hovers around the same price point as well. And since we're only getting the version of the S20 FE that's equipped with an Exynos 990 chipset, I know a lot of you may gravitate towards those two devices because of the difference in performance. Now, compared to those two devices, we're also getting a polycarbonate plastic body on the S20 FE, and while that really didn't bother me all that much, there's no denying that the glass backs of the 8T and the Mi 10T Pro do feel more premium, although you are getting an IP68 rating on this device. But like I said, this is my favorite device from Samsung this year, which honestly surprised me since I did book some time with the S20 Ultra, the Note 20 Ultra, and even the Galaxy Z Fold 2. Again, it's not perfect, it has its fair share of compromises, but I think it's a pretty good balance. And a lot of people have said that this is what the S20 should have been at launch, which I totally agree with. And that's pretty much it for this one. If you made it to this point of the video, thank you so much for dropping by and spending a few minutes with me. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and I'll try my best to get to them as soon as I can. For all the latest in tech, head to unbox.ph, plus follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. My name is Tito James. Peace, God bless. I hope you guys have an awesome new year, but remember, stay safe.